My client Dev recently went on 6 dates in just 2 weeks after setting his new profile live. Here is his before and after. He is a 36-year-old Indian man living in the Bay Area, which is hyper competitive. Also, as you can see, he's not the most generically traditionally bestest actor looking dude. In this interview, we talk about exactly how we were able to present him on the dating app so that he could go on 3 dates every single week with new women and start his journey of finding his ideal lifelong partner. All right, so I'm here with my client Dev, who recently set his profile live. You went on about 6 dates in the first 2 weeks, and then this week you have 2 dates set up, another one waiting to be confirmed, some second dates coming up already. So it's been a pretty big change. So first of all, like, congrats, man. Thanks for being here to share your story and everything. Why don't you take us back to, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, or even further before that? Like, how was your dating life before this?
A few years ago, like I would have like some success here and there. Had like a steady trickle of like matches here and there, but they were never like girls I was super excited about, right? And I always felt like I was like there was something kind of off, but I didn't have enough of like a top of the funnel pipeline
Mhm.
of matches to be like, oh, this is the girl, right? So like I had some like relationships that always kind of went into them being like, I'm kind of compromising here,
Mm,
and that never led to something that was like a super successful like long-term thing. And
mm,
I was never super excited by them, and they'd always kind of fizzle out. And then probably about like a year ago, I don't know, some combination of factors, uh the matches just kind of dried up, right? Like I was like swiping but just wasn't getting anything. Would try various things, but I think that at some point I started getting frustrated because I was changing up photos, changing up prompts, trying the online dating thing, but just wasn't really having a lot of success. And I wasn't quite sure like what the difference was because it had worked before, even if
mm,
it was like some kind of consistency of matches.
mm.
And so that's where I was probably like what 4 or 5 months ago. It's when I heard about your program and I was like, you know what, fuck it, let me give it a shot. Uh, like because I really felt like my challenge was like top of the funnel. And what I mean by that is just getting those matches. Like I'd always had like pretty decent success, like from like a first date converting to a second date, converting it to whatever else if I was really into the girl. I was like, I need to kind of figure out how to brand myself. The funny thing was like I'd often have like girls on like those early dates being like, oh, you're nothing at all like what you seem like on your profile. So that was another signal to me that like who I was in person was not what I was trying to convey on those profiles. So started the program, and it's been pretty awesome since then, just to kind of figure out that beginning start part of the process.
Man, I'm glad to hear that. And that's crazy to think that you were going on dates. You could have gone on so many more dates, first of all, and better dates too, because like you said, you were like settling, you were just falling into relationships that you didn't really want to be in. And, it's like, yeah, because you were this happens all the time. Guys will be like here as a dude, but they'll look like this on the date, or no, on the dating app, right? Whereas we want you to, look on par with actually who you are, present yourself the right way on that. What kind of made you decide that, like, okay, even though I'm getting some results, that I'm gonna actually get like professional help on this?
So I looked at a few different like options, right? So like there was like some things I saw that were just like, hey, I'm a dating photographer. Like I'll take cool pictures for you. But I
Mhm.
think what I really wanted was someone to really take me from like end to end, right? Not just like the photos, but I was like, how should I dress for those photos? Like what kind of like image should I be presenting? And I think a lot of other options I saw out there didn't really have that. Plus, I think there's a very real element of like being Asian and trying to figure out what that looks like and like how to present yourself in a way. And I've had like enough of like my like Asian friends like struggle with this and not necessarily in the matches. So I was like, oh, here's a dude, here's a program where it's like meant for Asian men,
Mhm.
and kind of really thinks through like the entire like image that you're trying to curate, and not just like taking a bunch of like cool photos and being like, there you go. So that was like the big decision point for me.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, that's huge, man, because there are a lot of like dating photographers out there, who, by the way, just like brand themselves that way so they can like charge more money. If you think about it, they're not on the dating apps, or a lot of times they're like women. They don't know a man's experience on it. Far less do they know anything about an Asian man's experience on it, right? So it's like,
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts is like not only getting you the photographer and the photography stuff down, but it's like everything leading up to it. What are the ideas that we're going to put into it? How are we going to present your attractive self? What kind of clothes? Like literally every single item, head to toe, of what we're going to do, every single positioning, posing that you're going to do on the photos to create this curated, right, profile that reflects, accurately who you are and what you bring to the table. You said something interesting there about like, specifically for Asians and stuff. And you live in the Bay Area too, which is extra interesting, right? Because we talked about this initially, right? Like everyone in the Bay Area is like an Asian or Indian engineer, right? So how do you stand out from that? I'm curious, like, what's your perspective on that now with, your new sort of dating reality?
Yeah. So I think part of this was, first of all, like I'm not an engineer, right? So I think there was always like the way I presented myself was like stereotypically like every other like Indian engineer in the Bay Area, right? Like have my photos with like glasses, like not like a very like stylish like outfit, just kind of cobbled together in kind of any shape or form. And that's just not how I am like in my day-to-day life, right? And so I think that disconnect between who I was, like we talked about, and what I was presenting,
Mm.
I was just kind of one of, I don't know, thousands of other profiles in the Bay Area. And
Mm.
like, having that kind of work against me was just like getting lost probably in the crowd. So I think really being able to kind of separate out what those differences were, kind of showed that as like the main focus of like the profile and kind of how I came across was probably one of like the bigger wins.
Amazing, man. Like people always say, the Bay Area is so competitive or New York is so competitive. And I love that. I love these competitive areas because all it means is that everyone is doing the same thing. Everyone, right? So if you do the opposite or if you stand out, all of a sudden you're in a crowd of one. You're in a crowd of one. All the women are tired. They've seen the same thing a million times. If you're in that crowd of one, oof, that you get all those options. Right. So it's like, it's not competitive. It's just a lot of people not knowing what to do or just doing the exact same thing as each other.
I think there was also something interesting where like the way I portrayed myself before, it attracted a certain kind of woman
Okay.
who I wasn't necessarily like the type I was into. And like, stereotypes aside, but I think it was like the kind of woman who would probably have been into like that stereotypical like Indian engineer profile in the Bay Area. And
Mm.
like I was never super into them. So I would get like likes on the profiles, but I'd always be like, nah, swipe left. Like this is not my type. Doing a better job of kind of aligning what I wanted to present myself as and who I was to the kind of partner I'd want to attract was like a
Sure.
big change for me.
Okay, that's a cool point, man, because that's another part of setting up the profile. Like when we brainstorm everything is like, who do we want to attract? Right. And you can polarize your profile in a way that attracts that kind of woman really strongly. Most guys, first of all, put on their bios or profiles things that just are just basically placeholders. Like, do you prefer chocolate milk or vanilla milk? Nobody cares. Right. But if you write it in a certain way that demonstrates some kind of value that you have, right? This is important to me, or these are the kind of hobbies or things, lifestyle that I want to lead, or this is the kind of woman that I need in my life at this time in my life, right? Then that kind of woman can raise her hand or press a like and be like, hey, I'm interested in what this guy is filtering for. So that's really cool, man. So you went on a bunch of first dates, you've gone on a couple second dates right now. How are you feeling in general about, your dating life right now? And where do you see it kind of progressing from here?
So I think I'm probably still coming around like a midpoint. And like what I mean by that is like I'm just, just kind of getting back into the swing of things, trying to, squeeze in a few dates when I can on weekends, but still I think waiting on a couple of things I'd want to do to really kind of make my profile pop. And so until then, I've kind of just been like taking it a little more casual, just getting some practice in, going on dates, just meeting people, and not really being like, oh shit, she's the one, or like getting really into it in that same way. And
Yeah.
like I think we get there. But I think one, like having kind of had that year of just like not a lot of dates, probably a little bit rusty. And so kind of getting back into that mindset of like, hey, like I'm out here to have a good time, just meet cool people and just kind of get back into that mindset of being social, being outgoing, just being in kind of that more date mindset. And then probably like I'd say probably like a few weeks from here, once I've kind of figured out like how to figure out the last parts of like the course and kind of optimizing for that, I think that's probably when I'll start really like swiping right and like hitting in a more consistent way than I have been.
And it's gonna take off, man. It's like if it's already getting you results and dates this many, which by the way, like, we talk about it, amongst us and people in our community and stuff, but 3 dates a week is not common. This is like, like most guys would be happy if they went on 3 dates in a year, right? So, here we have guys popping off 7 dates in a week. I think they're crazy. Like, wow, oh my God, you must be dead after that. So how does it feel going from like a year and a half, basically not having dates to now just having like this many options, lined up on your calendar? Like how does that feel to you?
I mean, it feels awesome, and it also feels a little overwhelming sometimes. Like awesome in the sense I was like, okay, yeah, I'm back into it. And it feels good to kind of get a little bit back more in the swing of things, how it used to be like a few years ago.
Mhm.
The overwhelming part's hilarious because I'm like, there's so many like different first dates where I'm just having a hard time keeping track of like who said what. And I'm just like, part of me, like I'm not fully like in that mindset yet. And so that's part of why I'm kind of getting these early dates in there. Because
Yeah.
I don't want to have like the dates I'm really excited about and just like confuse like who said what or like what we already
Mhm.
talked about.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I'm excited for you, man, is like you were saying the big thing for you before was you would get into these relationships that you weren't really happy with. And that's the case for a lot of guys coming in. They've gotten in some relationships, but they really knew that it wasn't for them. And they knew it wouldn't work out long term, but they stay in it for longer than they wish they would have. And then they waste, some guys maybe waste a year or two, but some guys actually waste like 5-10 years in these relationships or even get married. That's the worst, right? But at this point, it's like, I'm excited for you to A, have fun, meet all these different women, but B, have the abundance and choice to be able to choose someone who's actually the ideal fit for you, to have the numbers, okay, and the skills to be able to make that choice. Because, if you're going to get married with somebody, share your life together, create human children, offspring, like you want to make sure that that's like the right person,
100%. And I think that was like some of like the yellow red flags I was just kind of overlooking in prayer relationships, just because like it didn't come from a place of like abundance.
I love hearing this from you and all the guys, really, because you wouldn't think like, like Dev right now, you don't look like a movie actor, Ryan Gosling, movie star. You're not jacked, crazy muscles. I mean, how tall are you?
5'10".
Okay, so you're pretty decent in height, but like at the same time, it's like, people think of like the guys who are crushing it, going on 3 dates a week, and it's like tall, blonde hair, jacked, blue eyes, right? Or if you're Asian, you have to look like a movie star or something, right? Or famous, or be like mega rich. You can't just be like an average, software engineer or whatever. Right. So I love hearing this. And, the whole point of this is not so that you become whatever, stereotypically attractive or something. It's so that you put out your most attractive self, which, like we talked about, polarizes for that woman who's also on the same plane, who's also looking for this type of relationship, this type of guy, right? Which there's more than enough of them out there, as you're, saying and seeing right now. So to kind of wrap things up, I'm curious, like, what are your thoughts on, the inside of the program? How have the coaching calls been? How's the community been for you? What's been your experience with that?
Yeah. So it's interesting because I think initially, like after I'd signed up for it, I was still a little bit resistant to it, right? I was like, man, like, I don't know if I need a coaching program. Like I've kind of got like get my photos done and I'll be good and I'll be out of it. And I think the biggest surprise for me was just like the level of support in the community, right? It's like the really like minor stupid questions that like you want to be able to ask. Like I remember I asked a question the other day. I was like, hey, how do I figure out like how to get like the dating photo resolution just really right because it's not working out? So you can ask like really stupid questions like that. But then even just more like I love like there's a chat room feature where people just talk about more like existential questions that like guys our age face dating, right? It's like, how should we like position ourselves? Like what matters in a woman? So I think that kind of range of stuff feels like it's an awesome community. And like I think the availability for you and the other guy, just to kind of be there to answer questions, like just be able to like ping you with like a DM and have you always kind of respond has been awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to clarify, the other guy is Coach Jeff, who's my assistant coach, who's really cool actually. He's 51, I think, and he started dating at like 48 because he got a divorce. And he's also born in Asia. So he brings that other different experience that a lot of the guys in the group need because they're Asian born or born in India or something like that. And he's also older and divorced. So he brings like a wealth of experience, and having gone on like 100+ dates in like 1.5 years or something crazy. I'm like, dude, as a 50-year-old, that's insane. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'm super glad that you feel that. That's one of the parts that I enjoy the most, is cultivating, building this community. For me, that's like, aside from the coaching, the business, the money, the whatever, like, what I just want to leave behind is like this giant built community of Asian guys helping each other with this, seeing each other's successes, being inspired by each other. Because for me, when I was trying to learn this stuff, all I saw was on Reddit, like Asian masculinity, which is a wormhole of dark negativity, people complaining, incel culture. Not only is there no positivity in there, there's also nobody succeeding. So it's like the blind guiding the blind, right? Let me ask you for advice on something that I have no experience with, right? So it's like in here, we're actually having a positive spiral of people uplifting each other. I'm really glad that you feel, that this is a place for you, and that is something that made you feel like more at home, or something that you feel like supported in. What would you say to anyone who's maybe on the fence about joining the program?
I'd say probably the biggest thing is, especially if you're someone who's kind of, hasn't had like the most success, just kind of seeing like different experiences of like different guys, like guys like in the program who've never been in a relationship, all the way to guys who like got married and got divorced and are dating. Like depending on no matter where you are, like I've seen people succeeding. So it's like, don't like kind of hold back from like I don't have experience, or it might be not relevant for me. Like it's helped like so many different guys. So I think it's awesome.
Crazy to me too, because yeah, we're at about 60+ in the Discord community at the moment, active. And like you said, it's so diverse. We have guys in New York, we have guys in Texas, Bay Area, or like smaller towns across the US or whatever, or even guys who are not in the US, Australia, Europe, but also just like Indian born, Asian born, Hong Kong, right, Vietnam born, or like tall guys, short guys, bald guys, fat guys. There really kind of is everybody. And that's the cool part, is right, then you can learn a little bit from everybody, and also their diverse like backgrounds and experiences and stuff. So cool, man. Amazing. Congrats on the recent successes. I mean, just like you said, you're kind of at this like happy midpoint. We really haven't even pressed like the launch button, the explode everything button. So I'll be excited when we see that. But appreciate your time here, and talk to you soon.
Yeah, for sure. Take care.